All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to unpack a massive business dispute that all comes down to one simple question. What actually makes a promise a promise? I'm not talking about legal theory here. This is a real story about a huge deal, a shocking U-turn, and a courtroom fight where everything hinged on a few emails. I mean, just think about that for a second. We all make promises, right? But when you're talking about millions of dollars flying between international companies, a broken promise isn't just a letdown. Nope, it's a financial disaster that can kick off an absolute legal firestorm. And that's exactly where this story starts. So we're going to walk through what happened here, step by step, because it's a masterclass in how a few taps on a keyboard can have enormous consequences in our super fast digital world. Okay, so to really get this, you first need to know who we're talking about. Let's meet the two main characters in this corporate drama. So on one side, you've got Avra Commodities. They're a global trading company, and in this story, they are our seller. On the other side is China Coal Solution, a huge name in the coal supply game. They're the buyer. We're talking two heavy hitters in the industry, and they were about to ink a major deal. And listen, this wasn't just for a small one-time shipment. The promise here was for a massive, long-term supply contract. This was one of those foundational deals, the kind of thing that companies literally build their entire financial future around. So, yeah, it was a very big deal. But, as you've probably guessed by now, things did not go according to plan. The whole thing hit a massive snag, and what looked like a done deal was suddenly about to fall apart. Now, at the very heart of this whole mess is a legal term you've probably heard before, breach of contract. It sounds all formal and complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. It just means you had a deal and one side decided to walk away without a good legal reason. That's it. And that's the accusation that got the lawyers involved. So how did this all unfold? Well, it started the way most deals do these days, with a bunch of emails. They went back and forth, hashing out all the key terms. Everything seemed set. But then, as the deadline for that very first shipment got closer, poof, China Coal Solution just backed out. They got cold feet. For Avra, this was a catastrophe, and it left them with pretty much one option: take him to court. And this, right here, is the multi-million-dollar question that the entire case boiled down to. Was that email chain a real, rock-solid, legally binding contract? Or was it all just talk? Just a negotiation that never quite made it over the finish line? Everything depended on the answer. So let's fast forward through all the legal arguments and get to the main event, the courtroom. After hearing everything from both sides, a judge had to make the final call. And the verdict? It was clear. It was decisive. The court sided with Avra Commodities, the seller. That promise, they said, was absolutely a binding one. The judge basically said, look, a contract doesn't need a fancy wax seal or some special ink signature to be real. In this day and age, a back-and-forth email conversation can absolutely create a legally binding deal. And in this specific case, it did. The court's logic was actually a pretty simple 1-2-3 punch. First, they said, yep, a valid contract existed. The emails clearly showed an offer, an acceptance, and this is key, an intention from both sides to be in a real legal deal. Second, the breach was obvious. China Coal didn't do what they promised. And third, because of that breach, Avra lost money. So the court ordered China Coal to pay up. Okay, so the case is closed, but so what? Why should this story about a coal deal matter to any of us? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't really just a story about two giant companies. It's a huge, real-world reminder of how agreements actually work in the 21st century. It reinforces some basic rules that apply to pretty much any deal you can think of, big or small. So what are the big takeaways here? Well, first, your words matter a lot. That quick email that says, sounds good, let's do it, could be as powerful as a signed document. Second, an informal chat can become very formal, very fast. What feels like a casual digital conversation can end up being Exhibit A in a courtroom. And finally, as China Coal learned the hard way, breaking a promise can cost you a fortune. And all of this leaves us with a pretty wild thought, doesn't it? If your texts and emails can carry the same legal weight as a formal contract, how many binding promises are you and I making every single day, maybe without even thinking about it? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you hit send.